Coming up on the 303 Countdown, concerns about the World Cup in the wake of a cartel leader's killing, and why Mexican officials say the show will go on.
And the Olympics continue to spark conversation about politics and sports. Join our roundtable as we hash it all out.
And everything you need to know about the NBA's tanking controversy. Should the Bulls join the tank off? Our reporter joins the conversation from the United Center. All this and much more right now.
Hello and welcome to episode number 2 of the 303 Countdown. My name is Jonah White, joined alongside
Strizek
and Bianca Bryant. To get started, FIFA President Gianni Infantino says he feels very reassured that Mexico can still host spectacular World Cup games. Despite an outbreak of cartel violence, Mexico is set to join Canada and the United States in hosting the World Cup this summer. Guadalajara, the capital city of Jalisco, where the violence began, is scheduled to host 4 matches at this summer's tournament, with 5 matches set for Mexico City and 4 in Monterrey. Despite Infantino's confidence the games will go on, experts warn it can be a difficult situation to manage of this magnitude.
World Cup is less than 4 months away, and many of the stars we'll see in June were in action this week over in Europe in the Champions League. The winner of these matches have been matched up against the top 8 seeds this morning in the round of 16. Atletico Madrid pulled away late against Club Brugge. Leverkusen and Newcastle advanced in straightforward fashion. The biggest story of the round was Bodo Glimt's stunning upset of defending runners-up Inter Milan, thrashing over 2 legs. Atalanta, a stunning comeback against Borussia Dortmund. PSG held off their national rivals, Monaco, who pressed for late equalizer. Real Madrid advancing over Benfica. That match unfolding amid a racism scandal in the previous leg. Galatasaray, meanwhile, from Turkey, with an upset holding off a comeback attempt by Juventus. That leaves 16 teams remaining, all taking part in the next round. 3 Americans are still alive. Malik Tillman of Bayer Leverkusen, Yunus Musa of Atalanta, and Johnny Cardoso, who scored a screaming goal against Club Brugge for Atletico Madrid. But the biggest story, I think, of this round is Bodo Glimt of Norway, a tiny club who is in the round of 16 for the first time. Let's take a look at some of the other storylines going into the round of 16. There's 6 English teams left among the 16, and some of the matchups from the draw this morning: Real Madrid and Manchester City meeting for the 5th straight year, Chelsea and Paris Saint-Germain in a Club World Cup final rematch, Atletico Madrid and Tottenham, 2 heavyweights that have never won the Champions League, and Bodo Glimt is matched up against Sporting Portugal. Round of 16 begins March 10th.
The Michigan State Spartans snapped a 7-game losing streak in Mackey Arena last night, defeating the Purdue Boilermakers 76-74. Down 3 points at the half, the Spartans came out strong, shooting nearly 60% from the field in the second half. The Spartans' offense was balanced last night, with 4 players scoring in the double digits. The efforts were led by Jeremy Fears and Carson Cooper. Fears had 12 points and 6 assists, and Cooper scored a game-high 15 points and 6 rebounds. For Purdue, who was the consensus favorite to win the Big Ten Conference, it was their 3rd loss at home to conference opponents.
It shows you how good our league is, because all the teams that have beat us are really good teams, right? Obviously, it's not easy to win at home, but it's easier. And you got to be able to take advantage of playing at home, and we just haven't done that.
For the Boilermakers, Braden Smith had 12 points and 10 assists. With those 10 assists, Smith became the 5th player in NCAA history to pass 1,000 career assists. With this win, the Spartans move into a 3-way tie for 2nd place in the Big Ten. If they can stay in the top 4 through the end of conference play, they will receive a triple bye in the Big Ten tournament.
That's enough Big Ten basketball action. We'll return shortly after this quick break.
Sarah Galla joins us from the UC to tell us what's going on with the Chicago Bulls. Are the team's moves at the trade deadline paying off?
After that, Justin will discuss how things went on the racetrack at IndyCar. You won't want to miss it. Our reporter Sarah Galla is at the United Center after the Chicago Bulls lost their 11th straight game last night against the Portland Trailblazers. Sarah, the Bulls have struggled with consistency. What needs to change before tip-off on Sunday?
Yes, Bianca, here at the United Center, and I have to say it seems like the Bulls are going through a rough patch right now. One area that needs to improve is ball security. In recent games, the Bulls had 19 turnovers against the Hornets and 23 against the Pistons, and that played a role in both of those losses. I also believe it comes down to mental toughness. This team is struggling to find their identity. In a way, this team is in a rebuilding stage with the trade of Kobe White and Mike Conley, so team chemistry is still in a work of progress.
When you're stuck in the middle of the pack, it can be tempting to lose games to secure a higher draft pick. Sarah, what would you do if you were their GM? Win games or tank?
Honestly, this could go both ways. Trying to win the game could potentially be a turning point, a confidence booster. The Bulls are right behind the Bucks in the Eastern Conference standings, but if the Bulls lose and take this game, this could help maximize their opportunities for a better draft pick. I really guess it's up to the team on how they want to finish the season out.
One more for you, Sarah. Are the Bulls rebuilding the right way?
Yes, I honestly think they have. The way I see it, the only way to get better is through assessing what has not been working. The Bulls traded veteran players for fresher faces. Rob Dillingham and Leonard Miller have been added to the team, plus others bringing in that young talent, and that can give them time to develop, and it might even pay off. This is Sarah Galla reporting for the United Center. Gonna send it back to you guys in the studio.
We appreciate this update. Thank you, Sarah.
Next up, racing is back with now Daytona 500, and next up, IndyCar makes its return. Going pedal to the metal is our reporter Justin Parmer. Justin, take it away.
Well, guys, while it's been fun seeing NASCAR compete on the super speedways, it's that time of the year to take off the fenders and go open real racing. IndyCar will be having its opener down in St. Petersburg this weekend. Here's a quick roundup of what you need to know for the 2026 season. With IndyCar securing several long-term deals with key partners in the offseason, the 2026 IndyCar season is shaping up to be one of the most ambitious seasons the series has ever produced. The biggest change comes with the new schedule. 2 marquee races have been added to the calendar, with the series replacing Thermal Club for the new street course in Arlington, Texas, plus the last-minute addition of the race at the National Mall to celebrate the United States' 250th anniversary. IndyCar will also forego the trip out to Iowa, moving the doubleheader to the Milwaukee Mile while joining NASCAR down in Phoenix for a spring race. The series will also move the street race in Toronto to the streets of Markham, while swapping the season finale to Laguna Seca. It's not just the tracks changing either. The long-term pairing of Will Power and Team Penske is over, with the latter signing Chicago native David Malukas. Yet the 2-time IndyCar champion still landed a quality ride at Andretti Global, replacing the Formula 2-bound Colin Herta. The hole left behind by Malukas at AJ Foyt now belongs to last year's Indy Next runner-up Kyle Collette, while the Indy Next champion Dennis Hauger heads to Dale Coyne Racing. Other drivers on the move include Rinus VeeKay and former Formula 1 drivers Roman Grosjean and Mick Schumacher. One unresolved mystery remains Prema, who didn't show up to preseason testing down in Phoenix. Without last year's Indy 500 pole sitter Robert Schwartzman or Callum Ilott, it may result in a 500 grid with less than the traditional 33 cars. Regardless of car count in the month of May, the driver to beat remains last year's Indy 500 champion Alex Palou, who is seeking his 4th consecutive title after winning 8 of the 17 races last year. Of course, Palou's quest won't go unimpeded. The 4-time IndyCar champion will have to go through the likes of Kyle Kirkwood, Pato O'Ward, Scott Dixon, and Christian Lundgaard. We'll see if the field can stop the man who won 8 of the 17 races last year.
Thanks for that, Justin, and don't go anywhere. There's still more to come on the 303 Countdown.
Hayley joins us to break down Team USA's run in Milan. Both the women's and men's hockey teams put on quite a show, and she'll tell us how that all played out.
And Sarah Force is in the studio to analyze the Chicago Blackhawks. Can Connor Bedard and the boys turn this season around? All that and more right after this.
Welcome back. The Olympics made an impact on the public eye just as much now as during the opening ceremony. Hayley is here to wrap it all up.
That's right, Jonah. The Winter Olympics officially wrapped up this past Sunday, and Team USA closed out the games with a big win.
Team USA's men's ice hockey drought is officially over. This past Sunday, the men's team defeated Canada in overtime, with Jack Hughes scoring and stealing the game for USA. He may now be the poster boy for the hockey team, with his missing and chipped teeth only adding to that post-game smile. In the postgame press conference, Austin Matthew tells us why this win meant so much.
This is the first time in my NHL career that we've been able to compete in the Olympics, and so to have this opportunity, I think it meant a lot to us to have that opportunity to kind of put USA hockey back on the map, and we did that. So the goal was to come here and win a gold medal, and we did that.
The last time the men's team won a gold medal was in 1980, so the 46-year stretch is over.
The Olympics wrapped up this past weekend, and we now have a total count for all the medals won. Team USA closed out the games ranking second. Of their 12 gold medals, women won 8 of them. So let's hear it for the women.
Sticking to the ice, the Chicago Blackhawks are back in action after that Olympic hiatus. Sarah Force has more on what went wrong last night on the road.
The Blackhawks are back after their mid-season break. With only one player in Milan, they were able to use the break as a mini training camp. Still, they fell to the Predators 4-2 last night in Nashville, with only Bednar and Bertuzzi finding the back of the net. The Hawks were 1 for 5 on the power play and 0 for 1 on the penalty kill. Here's what Coach Blashill had to say about the loss.
I thought the first half of the game we kind of hurt ourselves with our puck play. I just thought there was not enough probably poise, not enough support. I thought as it went along it got better, and then we got better. We certainly had enough chances to score, but we got to make sure we find a way to lock that game down.
The NHL trade window closes March 6th, and for the 5th year in a row, the Hawks will be sellers. Veterans Connor Murphy, Ilya Mikheyev, and Jason Dickinson are top candidates for being moved. With only 25 games left, the Blackhawks are going to have to hurry up and start winning if they want even any chance at making the playoffs this year. They're still not out of that rebuilding stage, but we've seen progress over the last few years. I think some more young talent to join Frank Nazar and Connor Bedard will set the team up for success next season. Back to you at the desk.
Thank you, Sarah. Coming up, we'll wrap up our show with yet another discussion.
We're going to dive deep into the heated controversy of Donald Trump and JD Vance's comments surrounding the Olympics.
And we will conclude by discussing the NBA's stance against tanking. Stay tuned, everyone. We'll be right back. And we're back. Let's wrap things up with some hot topics. Between President Donald Trump joking with the men's hockey team about being impeached if he didn't invite the women's team, to the White House for the State of the Union address, and JD Vance saying Eileen Gu should choose to represent Team USA instead of China, the Olympics have kept us more than entertained outside of the games. Let's bring in the Quad Box to discuss this in depth. So starting with President Trump, Sarah, what do you think of this whole situation?
I mean, it's obviously very disappointing. I don't think many people enjoyed watching that video of Trump on the phone with the hockey team, with the men's hockey team. And disappointed in the Hughes brothers, disappointed in Team USA. You know, it's been so long since the men's hockey team won, and we could only be excited by that for like a day before this happened. And I think good for the women's hockey team for not going to the State of the Union. What do you guys think?
I agree. I think that especially with the conversation around Connor Hellenbuck and getting the Presidential Medal of Freedom, he let in as many goals in one game as Erin Frankel did in the entire tournament. I mean, 99 shots on goal, and she only let in 2. The women's team had a far more dominant performance, and so to denigrate that performance and disrespect their achievement is really disappointing to see.
I think a lot of this could have been resolved with an "I'm sorry," instead of talking about how close the men's and women's team are. I don't care how late they stay up together. He could have apologized for laughing at a joke. It was inappropriate. It wasn't that funny, and he got caught laughing. So, and I'm sorry can go a long way.
Yeah, I think the NHL is actually going to be disappointed that this gold medal, the 2 gold medals, could have been so good for the league, so good for hockey, and instead it's been overshadowed or at least complimented in the worst way by this incident. But what I want to know is, how did Kash Patel wind up spraying beer all over the locker room after the men's gold medal match? Like, did he knock on the door and say, "Excuse me, I'm Kash Patel, can I join the celebration"? Did Matthew Tkachuk be like, "Hey, excuse me, let's get Kash Patel down here to celebrate"? Or was it something in between? That's kind of what I'd love to get to the bottom of.
Yeah, it seems as though the men's team invited him in. Kash Patel said he was humbled to be invited, but what a ridiculous scene for our country.
And by the way, it's kind of crazy to think like you win a gold medal at the Olympics and the first thing is I want to invite the biggest cop I know. I don't know anybody who likes to party like that.
Yeah, but speaking of gold medals, I kind of want to pivot to Eileen Gu and JD Vance. JD Vance saying that he believes she should represent Team USA because she goes to college in the U.S., she receives U.S. resources, but Eileen Gu feels differently. Alex, what do you think about that?
I mean, I think there are plenty of athletes both in the Winter and Summer Olympics who compete for other countries. I think that this only became the issue that it did for two reasons. One, she's a medal winner, and two, it's China. We view China as one of our biggest competitors in terms of Olympic medal race, and so when someone who's a winner goes compete for them, we take it as a personal slight. It isn't. She feels loyalty to that country as well. That's not a crime, at least not yet, and so I don't think it's that big of a deal.
I think it's a pretty big deal, to be honest, at least from her perspective. Look, I'd love to be on the opposite side of a slight from JD Vance, but a broken clock is right twice a day. So here's a couple facts. Eileen Gu and Zhu Yi, another American who represents China, earned a combined $6.6 million last year from the Chinese government, that is to say the Chinese Communist Party. And I just want to contrast a couple of quotes here. Eileen Gu, to justify her playing with China, says, quote, "I'd have a much greater impact," and she's referring to herself as a role model, in China than in the U.S. Now, somebody else, another professional athlete, Axel Witsel, who's a Belgian soccer player, several years ago went over to China and played in their professional league, and he justified it this way. "Obviously, we go there for money. We don't have to talk about the sporting project. So I personally think you've got somebody being honest and somebody maybe obfuscating their honest intentions while they're trying to paint a certain image of themselves and align with a regime that's been credibly accused of genocide by many human rights organizations." All right, well, that's a great way to wrap up. NBA has a tanking problem, at least according to Commissioner Adam Silver. It all started during All-Star Weekend when Silver told all 30 teams that tanking has been, quote, "worse this year than we've seen in recent memory," and that he was considering every possible remedy going forward. Early critics include Pacers head coach Rick Carlisle after his team was fined $100,000 for sitting Aaron Nesmith and Pascal Siakam earlier this week. Carlisle said one league lawyer looked into it and, quote, "unilaterally decided that Aaron Nesmith, who had been injured the night before and couldn't hold the ball, should have played in the game," which just seems ridiculous. Do you guys agree that the league is overstepping?
I mean, I think that basketball is a sport where tanking is always going to exist. I mean, when one player can make such a large impact on the direction of a franchise, teams are always going to do whatever they can to get the highest possible draft if they're not performing to the level they hope to be. And so I think that the commissioner had a lot of proposals. One that I personally agree with is teams not being able to have consecutive year top 4 draft picks. I think that if you're drafting well and you're developing your team, you should kind of be able to correct for that and not have to need such a high draft pick the next year, and incentivizes actually developing the players.
Yeah, I definitely agree. There has to be some way to incentivize playing well at the end of the season, especially when you know you haven't made the playoffs. I know the PWHL has a good system for that. But, you know, I'm a Bulls fan. They've lost the last 11 games. And the other night they were playing the Hornets. I think they were down 3 at the half, and then by the end of the game, they lost by about 40. So there has to be some remedy so fans can enjoy watching their team at the end of the season.
A quick trivia question. What do Anthony Bennett, Kwame Brown, and Greg Oden have in common? Nobody? They were all #1 overall picks. So it's not, tanking I don't think is that simple. And it's far from a guarantee.
Look, tanking is no fun as a fan. No one wants to watch their team lose again and again, but tanking is the symptom, not the problem. There just aren't enough mechanisms for small market teams to get stars, to develop their players, to win games, honestly. But Adam Silver is doing the league a disservice by not addressing ownership and instead directing the GMs. The owners need to get in the locker rooms, talk to their GMs, and say, we're not tanking anymore.
Well, that's a wrap on the 303 Countdown. Sarah, thanks for joining the conversation. And other Sarah, stay warm out there.
Thank you for joining us. We hope you join us next week for the latest in sports. I'm Jonah White.
I'm Alex Strizek.
Coming up on the 303
And I'm Bianca Bryant. We hope you have a wonderful rest of the week.